What is up, SmackNPie here, and this is gonna be hopefully the final video and the follow-up to the video I did yesterday. Immediately after posting that video, an hour or two later, Cawthon himself posted his response on Reddit, and this is a big one, so we have to make this update and we have to make sure that now that response has come, now it is time to have one final discussion. Okay, so he titled my response and maybe last post. Let's see what we have here. So this message isn't specifically directly at the Reddit community. This is just the community that I care about the most and where I choose to post these things. I never cared much for Twitter anyway. There's a reason why many creators have left Twitter. KSI, Scott never used anyway. Felix also left Twitter a long time ago. So there's a reason many people don't stay on that platform. To say the last few days have been surreal would be an understatement. I've debated greatly how best to address this, including not addressing it at all. But with so many people from the LGBT community in the fan base that I love, that's not an option. I'd like to think that the last 7 years would have given me the benefit of the doubt in regards to how I try to treat people. That's what I've been saying. But there I was, trending on Twitter for being a homophobe, getting doxxed, with people threatening to come to my house. My wife is 6 weeks pregnant, and she spent last night in fear because of what was being said online. She has already been struggling with her pregnancy, so seeing her so afraid really scared me. Yeah, all this because I exercised my right and my duty as an American citizen to vote for and support the candidates who I felt, and this is important, who I felt could best run the country for everyone, and that's something I won't apologize for. I've said this on Twitter as well, that politics isn't as black and white as people make it to be, and you'll see more of that in this response. For those who took time to look, you saw that the candidates I supported included men, women, white people, black people, Republicans, and Democrats. I supported Kimberly in Baltimore because I believe that she really cared for African American community there and wanted to pull them out of poverty. I believe she could have really made a difference in a time when so many black communities were struggling. She lost, unfortunately. I supported Tulsi, a Democrat, even though I disagreed with her. This is important, even though I disagreed with her on several issues, because I felt she would have been a good and fair president. And yes, I supported President Trump because I felt he was the best man to fuel a strong economy and stand up to Americans' enemies abroad, of which there are many. So, time for me to get a little political here. There are a lot of reasons many people voted for Trump, and one of them was his stance on refugees, his stance on Muslim countries. Like I said, I got nothing to do with this. I'm not either a Republican or Democrat, never liked Trump, so I got nothing to do with this. My stance on this is completely out of this. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm gonna come here and say that for him to vote and donate to these specific individuals, I don't agree with that. Alright, I don't agree with a lot of things Republicans and Democrats stands for either. Both of them. There are a lot of things wrong with both parties, and I don't mess with it. I have nothing to do with it. Right? But I can totally understand why someone would be like, okay, we got two evils, let's go for our lesser evil, someone who would do less damage than the other. Not saying that it is right or wrong, just saying the situation at hand here. Even if there were candidates who had better things to say to the LGBT community directly and bigger promises to make, I believe that their stances on other issues would have ended up doing much greater harm to those communities than good. This is important. This is what I just explained. Again, you can disagree with this 100%. I disagree with a lot of this. You can disagree with this. Politically, you can disagree with basically everything he has said in regards to where he stands or belief politically. But that's not the point here. The reason he was getting cancelled is because people are saying he willingly donated to F over many of LGBT community. Now, of course, you can raise the issue, oh, okay, he knew they are anti-LGBT, but at the same time, he just said here that knowingly, the other parties, the other candidates would have done more harm to these communities, in his opinion, in his belief. Whether you think it is right or wrong, at least we now know where he's coming from. It doesn't make it right or wrong, but that's the situation here. All of this explanation, I fear, is wasted as people don't want to discuss with one another anymore. And that is the issue here. We don't have discussions anymore. We don't have conversations anymore. People are just like, oh, you're either this or you're either that. You can't have normal civil discussion with, okay, you know what, you're doing great, but you have problems and issues you need to discuss, you need to resolve. That is the issue here. They want endless apologies and submission. People who are expecting those from me will get neither. Goodness gracious, God, Cawthon, relax. I've always been supportive of creators and have tried to... Okay, so that explains the whole political situation, and I feel like I have tried my best, to the best of my abilities, to narrow down what is happening. Like, you can disagree with his entire political stance. That is your right, just as his right to vote and believe that specific aspect. But one thing both of you have in common is that you don't want to take away basic human rights, right? He's like, I have the opportunity to vote. My vote, if I don't vote, one vote might not seem that much, but it can be very impactful. And for him to be like, okay, now I got two evils, let me choose lesser evils so that they don't do as much harm as the others. Like, I would always disagree with him on the Trump aspect and the other stuff. You can disagree with me, I can disagree with you. But that's really how politics works. That's the thing. That's the issue here. And we can have conversations on that. We can have debates on that. Both you and me can try to take up points and explain to each other that, okay, this is why I feel like this is the thing, this is why I feel like this is the thing. But unfortunately, Twitter was having none of it. So I hope that with this response of political stuff specifically, it ends all this drama. Now you know where he stands politically. You don't have to support him, you don't have to like him, but now you know his intentions. I feel like this was a lot better response. If he would have came out and said, all right, I didn't meant for that, people wouldn't have none of it. So he was basically in a lose-lose position from the start anyway. And just a quickly reminder as we move on, you can separate the art from artist. You can still like something that's a person make, but at the same time criticize their actions and behaviors, because at the end of the day, we're all human. And one thing needs to be said is that over the years, he has supported many of LGBT individuals, creators, and I feel like that shouldn't go in vain, and all the charity work he has done. So let's move on. I've always been supportive of creators and have tried to treat everyone fairly and treat everyone with dignity and respect. I've never cared about anyone else's race, religion, gender, or orientation, nor have I. I just treat people as people, everyone the same, and because of that, I ended up with a very diverse group of people that I worked with over the years. It wasn't intentional, it just happened that way. I choose people who are best for the job, I treat everyone the same, and I ended up with people from all walks of life in my professional life and my personal life as well. That's the way it should be, that's the way I want it to be, and that's the way I will continue to be. So now you know his intentions, and like I said, his personal life, aka his personal belief, where he stands politically, what he believes in terms of religion, culture, that should be aside from the work he has done, both in terms of Five Nights at Freddy's and the charity work and all that. You can still appreciate his donations and criticize for the political aspect and still respect him as a person, respect him as a human being. That's what I'm trying to get at. So he ends up with, you know, I'm a Republican, I'm a Christian, and I'm a pro-life. Now, again, with pro-life, you can have a lot of debate over this aspect. And as soon as he said that, I can see many people being like, yep, it was a good time in the FNAF community. I'm out of here. And you know what? Like I said, you don't have to like the guy. You don't have to make him change his belief. You don't have to do anything. You can like Five Nights at Freddy's and you can disagree with Scott, at the same time keeping respect as human being and be like, you know what, let's keep our distance personally and politically as it should be from the start anyway, and enjoy the content that is being produced, Five Nights at Freddy's and stuff like that. I believe in God, I also believe in equality and in science and in common sense. Despite what some may say, all of those things can go together. That's not an apology or promise to change, it is the way it's always been. If I get cancelled, then I get cancelled. I don't do this for the money anymore, and that is very evident. I do it because I enjoy it. If people think I'm doing more harm than good now, then maybe it's better that I get cancelled and retire. Like I said, and I've been saying it over and over again, I would accept that. I have had a fulfilling career. Besides, most things that people can take from you are things that never had much value to begin with. I've always loved and will continue to love this community and this fan base, even if someday it doesn't include me anymore. Goodness gracious. So this is the situation we are at, right? This is Scott's response, and I feel like perfect response. My stance on all of this, I don't agree with a lot of Scott's political aspects and personal beliefs. Pro-life, Republican aspect, first of all, I'm not part of Republican or Democrat anyway, so that is out of the question. His stance specifically on Trump, I got nothing to do with that. So politically, I don't agree with that, alright? But in terms of the content that he's created, this community that he's created, and all the good things that he's done and worked with a very diverse group of people, I feel like that shouldn't go in vain. You can disagree with someone, you don't have to like him anymore, but you should at least respect him as a human being. If you feel like they're doing more harm than good, the best way to do is make your stance and then leave. And then distance yourself from it. That is the best thing I can say. Because this is the internet after all. I've made the video on the donation aspect and everything else that came out in the last video as well, and I feel like I've done the best to my abilities to covering this whole aspect. I will still continue to play Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, Five Nights at Security Hype continue, yay! I will still stay within this community. There are so many good people in this community, and I feel like whether agree or disagree, like or don't like Scott, it has nothing to do with FNAF. at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, Scott has always been on the back end. He always let community do its own thing, so it's not gonna affect us this much anyway. It's only the Twitter mobs that are canceling that. And you know what? Yo, non-FNAF fans, keep it to Twitter. Don't get it here. You know, you might have all the best logical responses and arguments and reasoning with why whatever Scott is doing is wrong. At the end of the day, now that we got the response, now we know where he stands, you can agree or disagree with him, keep that away from FNAF community. You can criticize him as a person, but with all the doxing and all the harassment that he's got, that ain't it, chief. It is ridiculous, it is pathetic. If you're gonna dox someone, if you're gonna harass someone just because they're opposite to what you believe, and you feel like you're the better person and they're the worst, then you're no better. Breaking news, you're no better, if not worse, because you're doing the exact same thing you're accusing someone of. Guys, I'm sorry, I got out of control in this video a little bit, but I feel like that's the most political you're gonna see me in a video. Maybe not, we're gonna have to wait and see. Anyways, what's your take on all this? I'm exhausted, I am tired. Let's end this chapter. Five Nights at Freddy's security breach hype continues. Let's hope we get a gameplay trailer soon and a release date. I'll see you in the next video. Make sure you are subscribed with notifications on for more FNAF content.